Well, good morning and good evening for all the people who have joined from across the globe. And today we are gathered here to kickstart our batch with Pega training. Well, to start and go ahead, I would want you to, just to keep this session very interactive, I would want you to go to menti.com and key in this code, or you can just scan this and then just answer a couple of questions for me. One of those questions would be, have you ever heard of Pega is something which you would be seeing, right? And you can answer that question if it is doable for you. If you can, there's no hard and stop necessity as such. But if you can go to that code and you can answer that question for me, right? And if you have heard about low code or not would be the question, right? If you can answer that, that would be great. That would be giving me an understanding of what sort of crowd we are trying to deal with today, right? If you guys have seen that, are you guys able to see that question? Yes? No? Perfect. Okay. So if you are able to successfully answer that question, we can go to the next one and take it further from there, right? Perfect. I got the answers. So most of you have not heard of low code platform, which is fine. So I see that 90% of them have not heard of this, which makes sense, right? And the next question would be, if you kind of refresh it, or if you're on same screen, you'll see the next question, which would be do you have any experience with IT? So I see that few of them, like most of them are 0 to 1 year experience, and then of course others are like this one person who is 5 to 10 years experience. So we do have a decent mix. Perfect. So with that, that's good. We do have a equal mix of people who are interested, who have IT understanding, and who also are pretty new to this platform. So I would be assuming that most of us, we don't have understanding of what is a low code platform or a no code platform, as well as very few people are here who have IT experience. So let's start assuming that most of us are beginners, right? With that understanding, let's kickstart by just going over one small story. That way we'll be having a notion to relate to, and then take it further from there. So let's say let's make a cake, right? How do we make a cake? If you just take a typical process of making cake, we need different ingredients. For example, butter, egg, like we see here, we do need all these ingredients, and you also need to know what proportion of each and every ingredient is necessary to make a cake. Do we agree? We need to know what proportion of each and every ingredient is needed to make this cake. The end result is a plain cake, but you need to know all these ingredients to make a cake. And if you or me, someone who doesn't understand cake making, if we try that, the chances are we'll definitely fail, right? We won't be able to make it the most ultimate sort of tasting cake, which is given, right? Well, the food industry, they saw this problem many years ago, and then they told, okay, you don't have to scratch your head about all these ingredients. You could do this just by buying a cake batter, a cake mix. A simple solution to solve that problem was cake mix. People who don't understand the amount of ingredients needed to make a cake, how much egg, how much flour, they could just go and buy this cake mix and then make this cake, just put it to bake, and we solve that problem. Voila. Yes or no? We did solve that problem by doing such automation. What is this? This is automation. You just removed that complexity of using different ingredients and expertise with respect to how much flour or whatever was necessary to build a cake in the previous example, right? We solved this problem by doing automation through this cake mix. So cake mix is something which helped me, people like you and me who don't want to understand the complexity behind what a cake is all made. How, like, we just use this and we baked a cake and it tastes exactly like how it would taste in any bakery. Perfect. This gives us a really decent understanding of how we can automate, like, anything which is complex to something which is easily chewable, or, we can make something out of, a complex process was simplified by just making a cake mix. The same thing is true in software industry. What is a software? Software is something which is going to solve a day-to-day problem a human is going through. One such example is, like, you can order stuff online today, right? Previously, you had to go to a store, fetch any ingredient or anything you need. You had to go to make that travel and you have to fetch that. But we are able to solve that using softwares. Same thing is true in banking industry. In banking industry today, you won't be able to, you don't have to go to the bank to perform most of the operations which you were doing 10 years before. You could do it sitting on a sofa in your home. We are doing that. So, but all these software applications which we are seeing, those are being built by some engineers. Yes or no? Those are being built by some engineers. And that's where I want to introduce something called as old school programming approach. What is an old school programming approach? Like, any application you see today, for example, any software application, could be Facebook, could be Netflix, right? Could be WhatsApp, could be Amazon. Everything you see has a presentation layer. What do I mean by presentation layer? Something which you see when you open Amazon, you see the Amazon app, like you can search and do that stuff. So that is something which is called as a presentation layer. That's why I've called it presentation layer. Every app, whatever you see, is the presentation layer, right? In the same way, there is business logic to any application. For example, on Amazon, let us say I added a couple of items, and when I go to my cart, I see that the total has changed, right? Based on how many items I add, the total keeps changing. But someone is doing this calculation, right? Someone is doing this, something at the back end is doing this calculation. It is changing the tax amount. It is changing based on the address you modify, the tax is differing. Who is doing this change? That is nothing but a business logic which has been written, right? That is a business logic which was written maybe in some language or whatever it is. That's not my headache right now. It is like that cake mix, right? How much amount of flour is needed. That's not something which I am interested in. But right now we are trying to understand how a typical software application is built. The old school programming approach has a presentation layer, a business logic, and persistence, right? Persistence is storing. For example, let's say I meet you one fine day, and then when we are talking, if I share my contact, you won't remember that contact. The first thing you do is pull out your phone, key in those digits and put my name and save it. Yes or no? Why? Because you know that you can save that data onto your phone. There is something called as phone memory your phone comes with. You want to save it there. That is nothing but persistence. You want to persist that contact for future use. That's what you're doing. Every application today, it is doing that. Every application has a presentation layer, which is a UI, right? Could be, you can pick any application. It has a UI. It has business logic in the sense, whenever you try to do something, it is performing those operations. You add certain items to the cart, the total is changing, right? You give your address, the tax is being calculated. So that is the business logic which is happening. And after a couple of days, after you have ordered, if you can go back and see, you see your orders are still existing there, the previous orders you have made. There is a history of those orders. There is an audit which is available. How is that happening? Because they are saving that, they are storing that, right? When you yourself has 1,000 contacts in your phone, every application comes with zillion bunch of data, right? Every order you make, like that, Amazon has so many orders. Yes or no? Just for example, because Amazon being a pretty common application, everyone uses across the globe. If you see, this is the presentation layer I see, right? I can go here, I can do a search, right? Look up for items, add those items, and then those go into my cart. And in the cart, it shows me the total. The number of items I increase, the total keeps increasing. That is a business logic. And of course, after a couple of days, I can go back and check if that order was delivered or not. That is how is it happening? Because they are saving the data or storing the data. How I am storing my phone numbers in my phone memory or my memory card. Amazon application is saving that data into their own databases. Do you agree? Yes, no, right? Perfect. So with me so far. So let's try to understand how are they trying to develop this application, right? For example, Amazon. If I go further, any user interface, for example, whatever we saw, the UI, the glossy UI of Netflix, of Facebook, of WhatsApp, or pick any application as such, you would need one of these languages. These are user interface languages. If you just Google up and see what are the front end means user interface or something which you see, right? You need these languages to build that. React, Kotlin, Swift, Vue.js, Electron, Flutter, based on kind of platform you're using, you will need these languages. But learning these languages is really challenging. And this is not for the entire application, just for the user interface. For example, if you compare this to your cake making, this is just how your cake looks like, on top of it, how you apply the cream. This is the cream. That's it. This is not the inside cake, which has flour and stuff. It's just the outside look, of your application. For that, you need to know all these languages. Perfect. So I understand. Now we are having understanding that to build any user interface or a presentation layer of a software application, we will need one of these languages, right? Perfect. So we understand UI can be built using these languages. Next is the business logic. How is this calculation done? How is this batter? How is the cake inside? How is that flour going to change into that cake? That is nothing but business logic. How is that number of, whenever you add the orders in your Amazon app, how is that the calculation is happening? To do that, there are multiple languages which we need to know. Of course, Python, Java, JavaScript, C++. These are today's trending languages which I have fetched and built this report, right? These many languages are there and you will be needing one of these to build that backend logic, one or many depending upon the kind of application you are building. So we saw two dependencies already. To build the presentation layer, you need all these languages. To build the backend, you need these languages. These programming languages is something which you need to build the business logic. Well, we are not done here, right? We are not done here because you also have to save that data. Tomorrow when you go into Amazon, you should also be able to display the customer the different orders they have made. So you have to store them somewhere. To store them, what do we need? Like in my phone, I need memory card or phone memory. I would need a database for software applications, and those are these MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server. All these are databases. By this time, you would already be feeling overwhelmed with the kind of information I'm giving. You're like, okay, this seems too much for me to absorb. Yes, I also felt the same, right? Whenever any application, if it has to be built, well, today a lot of applications still are being built like this, using all these languages. There's presentation layer, there is business logic, there is persistence layer. All these three layers are mandatory for any application. You should have a presentation layer. For that, you would need one of these languages. You should have a backend business logic layer, for which you will need one language from here, and you also need a database to save that. You also should have understanding about the database to do that, right? So for someone to have all this, he should be at least having a computer science degree, right? He should have computer science degree to understand this, because there's a lot of logic which goes behind each and every languages, and these languages evolve day to day, and you need to be so smart that you need to pick up these languages and understand. But IT industry is so vast and it is so fastly developing that the big leaders identified that there is a huge gap here. If you are not a computer science engineer, you might have a really decent problem you're trying to solve. Just like, in banking, in pharma, in healthcare, right? In manufacturing, there are so many problems engineers want to solve, but they have this gap because they don't understand how these languages work. So they can't put their solutions, into implementation because they don't know this. So the industry leaders identified this gap and they told, hey, I don't think language should be a barrier for anyone to put his thought process of solving any problem into implementation. This shouldn't be a barrier. To solve that, they told, okay, let's introduce something called as low code. What is low code? It is that cake mix where you don't need to know how much ingredients of each and everything you would be needing, how much flour you would be needing. That's not something we should be knowing. Which, to build a presentation layer, don't need to know syntax of, of React, Angular, HTML, CSS, all these things I don't need to know. Without knowing that, one should be able to do it. What is Java? I don't need to know. I don't need to know what is Python. Even without knowing all that, we should be able to build an application. So to do that, industry leaders came up with something called as a concept called low code. What is this? It's just abstraction. Like, exactly how we did with our cake mix. The amount of ingredients are abstracted. You just have to bake it and you can build your own desired fashion of cake. You can customize your cake and you can build it. What it does, low code automates your programming. You don't need to know programming to build all such applications. Those applications which we talked about, we don't need to know programming to build that. It's called a low code or a no code approach. Well, there are so many tools today in market, but very few have cut through this niche and they have told, okay, we could do this in a better way. And few of those tools, of course, are Pega, Appian, Cordis, and IBM has their own BPM tool, stuff like that. But for this course, we will be using or focusing on a tool called Pega. This is a low code tool. What do we mean by low code tool? It is that cake batter mix which you will be using to build such applications. There is a problem we'll be solving. We'll be building enterprise application using this tool. This is a low code or a no code platform, a blend of BPM, CRM, and decisioning and AI. We'll see that, I just don't want to overwhelm you with the definition, but understand that this is your cake mix which you will be using to bake, right? Perfect. So why Pega? If you ask me, of course, the job market, right? The job market is super hot, right? I just Google it up and I see these many results. Right before I could start this presentation, I just did this and then I see so many jobs, right? So many jobs. Don't believe me, just go Google it up, look it up, and then come back and debate with me. There's no hard and stop, this thing. You can do your own research and come back to me and say, hey, I disagree with you and these are the stats and we can discuss, right? And this is one thing. And what is this tool all about? This tool is a low code platform where you don't need to know, HTML, CSS, Java, Python, Ruby, Perl, or multiple databases. How do they operate? How do they work? How can you write a query through programming to save any such thing? No, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know when you're trying to save your phone number, where exactly it's going and setting. You don't need to know that. You don't need to know what syntax should you be using to build a page which has these, configurations, right? What if there is an easier way for a layman to, relate to and build some enterprise application? Pega is one such tool. It will help you build applications without having understanding of coding. You don't need to know coding to build applications. It's a fact. I have done mechanical engineering and I am able to survive in this industry, right? Why do you have to learn Pega? Because of course it's extremely hot in market. Coding is not needed. Very easy to build applications. Of course, we'll be going over how exactly we'll be doing that, and easy to perform any changes. Like the first thing today to understand in industry or any industry if you take is your willingness or readiness to adapt to any new change. And this platform comes with that as a strength, right? Dynamically changing environments can be easily adapted using Pega. That is why we'll be using it, right? So here I'm just giving you understanding of why you need to learn this particular platform. Of course, the jobs are huge chunk of jobs sitting there because they don't have enough computer science engineers who can fill those roles. And people like you and me who can learn these tools can fill those positions and really, start earning out of that. Why should you learn from me? I do have 13 plus years of experience just building applications on this platform. I do have 5x certifications on that, right? It comes from certified system architect to senior system architect and a lead system architect. There's different certifications, but the basic certification would be Pega certified system architect, which you would be appearing for once you are done with this course, right? Perfect. So I did gather what are few questions you may want to consider before taking this Pega Developer course, right? What are the objectives of this course? Are you looking for just, just to gain knowledge on Pega development, or, are you looking for to improve your current skill set? What is that you're looking for is something, is a common question which I get. Of course, this is something which you have to answer for yourself, right? What is that you want to achieve as part of, taking this course? Something which you will have to answer for yourself. Perfect, right? And how does this course align with your current experience? For example, there are people from, non-IT. Does it help me? Of course, right? The idea here is how exactly you can apply all that experience in building or solving a new problem. You could be working in manufacturing, you could be working in healthcare. You can bring that expertise and put it into implementation in solving one problem which you have seen for so long, and you can relate to it, and you can build an application which solves that problem. Maybe reducing the lead time in just, addressing the customers on one such applications, right? You can build something like that. How can you, this is tailored for beginners, we will be taking baby steps. We'll be hand holding you and helping you take those baby steps in learning this particular platform. And what is the format? This will be online, right? This will be an online application, training. And who will teach that? I'll be teaching that. I gave you my introduction in the previous slide. What kind of support? I'll be providing you with the software and the course material and the recordings as well. Every class recording would be given to you. It would be delivered to you once the class is over. It will be, shared with you. Some questions with respect to, what are the jobs? How exactly are we associated? Where do we land? Once you are mastering this platform, we will be helping you build, your resume and understand how exactly you can take the interviews. We'll be conducting mock interviews, of course. And also the applications which we'll be building will be inline or mimicking the current industry applications which are going on today in market, right? What are the most recent trends with respect to Pega? I will be helping you understand how exactly you can stay in touch and, updated with what is happening, with real world case scenarios is something we'll be focusing on, What can we build? All sort of applications, right? From case management. What is a case management application? For example, you call up a customer support. Let's say you are using one of the internet services, could be Spectrum or Airtel or anything. Your line is not working. When you call them up and you just tell the details, and then they say, thank you, sir. Thank you for reaching out, but we have created this case for you. And then we'll be tracking this based on that. Based on that case, there is an engineer assigned. He comes to your place and fixes that. That's case management. So in that way, workflow automation, stuff like that is something which we will be building, right? Could be supply chain sort of application. For example, if you order something on Amazon, when you go and see, there is, based on who is trying to come and deliver you will see where exactly that particular item is. For example, if it is out from a warehouse, you will see that in the status. How is that happening? Because some engineers like you and me have sat down and built a workflow around it, right? Workflow around it, and then that's how it is happening. Onboarding a new employee into a organization that needs an application. That's your human resource management. Claims, every insurance application which you have used, there are claim processing happening. How exactly are they building those solutions? Using platforms like this. So we will be using what the capabilities of this particular platform to build such applications, right? Well, what does this course offer? I mean, if you have ever dreamt of getting started with IT or starting with Pega or working in IT, achieving your first job in IT, I would say this would be, you're at the right place, right? This is an all-in-one course, which can help you get up and running with Pega, and I have helped hundreds of students in the past, right? And then in understanding Pega technology. So why not you, right? It's just that. Based on that, I have just kickstarted this particular tour, right? And whether you have been working in IT, you're a non-IT professional, or someone who just wants to get a deep understanding of what is this platform all about, this course is for you, right? You'll fully learn most of the concepts which are needed to build any enterprise application, from case management, data modeling, integration, workflow design, configuration. There's multiple aspects associated with this, which you will be, we'll be going over and we'll be learning. I strongly believe is something which is learning by doing. So we will be going over, the real-time scenarios so that we understand how exactly each and every piece is built, and you will be following along with these hands-on lectures. Of course, we'll be having mock interviews in the end, which helps you get a feel of what it is all about, and I try to keep it very much real time. You can visit our YouTube channel and see we get a lot of positive reviews for the kind of content we develop, right? And of course, there's increasing demand for these jobs. Like while you and me we are talking, there is so much demand increasing because there are so much manual processes around us which we have to solve in all the industries, right? I would be needing 45 plus hours of your time to deliver this content with real-time projects and industry-ready curriculum. Of course, you'd be seeking this for your official certification guidance as well and mock interviews. With that said, I would keep it open for questions. If you have any questions, I can take them now.